this whole space, I mean, and it's not a negative. It's just there's so much lack of an understanding, and for good reason. It's such an early stage. Very seldom do investors actually get a look into something that's this early stage, and that's the actual fascinating part. But it also is prone for misunderstanding, misuse, and that's what's sort of our biggest fear right now. So let's step back for a moment. Look, blockchain is a fascinating technology, and I think the opportunity set for industry and business, and the change that we will see in the potential of what business will look like, how revenue-producing businesses and value-added services will be produced on blockchain. But it also means that there's a lot of work still left to do to figure this out. So let's step back for a moment. You use the word, use Bitcoin. Bitcoin was originally conceptualized back around the financial crisis. And it was all around this trying to disintermediate the agency model. Why does somebody else have to be in the middle of everything I want to do? And so this decentralized view of how do we basically interact and work directly as opposed to always relying on agency. And that was the original principle. How do you do transactions? And Bitcoin effectively, it's the protocol, the platform, plus it's the actual name of the token that people can interact with. What happened is a number of years later, there was this conceptualization of something much bigger and grander. The vision for the blockchain became much grander. And that was what started with the Ethereum kind of white paper. And it was developed with this, it's not just about agency and transactions. It's about this idea of how do we create this world computer where everybody agrees upon a set of known facts. Every fact in the world is agreed upon. So it's effectively, it's a decentralized database, but it's a single world computer with all facts on it. And it's not that, people often think the internet is a world computer, but it's not. It's actually an interconnecting of everybody's individual computers that have all different facts and have different experiences on them. The principle here is that you have one central, computer globally. So blockchain is then that world computer. Blockchain is the actual database that effectively enables all of those facts. That's it. So blockchain equals database. So right now you might have a database where you and your friends kind of share information, or you have a personal database on your computer, or maybe you have a Google database that you work with 5 other people, or your business has a database. The reality is, what if everybody shared one database, and every fact in there, every point in there was an agreed upon fact? That's the way to think about a blockchain. Okay. Now, within that, then you can actually do very interesting things with that set of facts. And so this is that idea of the world computer. So what Ethereum's token is, so similar to Bitcoin and Bitcoin, is named the same thing, but Ether, which is the token, the native token of the Ethereum community, is all about, is this idea of what's the actual, the token, the value that you have to interact with in this utility of a database. And so people call them currencies. I call them tokens. It's a utility. And so the principle is, think about now philosophically economies. If I'm a jurisdiction of Canada and you're in a jurisdiction of Japan and you want to do trade with me, you have to be willing to accept my token, which is the Canadian dollar, and vice versa have to be willing to accept your token, which is the Japanese yen. And for us to do trade, we have to be willing to do those types of things. And that's the Canadian dollar will benefit from the increase in the utility of our jurisdiction, the Canadian economy. Now think of the blockchain. Blockchain is the exact same. So in the Ethereum blockchain, that protocol, the jurisdictional token is Ether. And so if you believe that if you want to interact with that, you need to interact with the Ether token. Right. And if you believe the utility, the global utility of Ethereum will increase over time, then ultimately you have to believe that the Ether token will increase in utility and value over time. So we think that that is a massive way to sort of conceptualize this and get to where the value will accrue over time. And there's a lot of reasons why we believe that Ethereum, we believe in one thesis, which is that we will see one dominant protocol. And second is that we believe that Ethereum is right now the highest probability of being that dominant protocol. Ethereum to us has all the pieces of innovation. It's where the developers are. It's where the ideation, where the proper governance is being. Because remember, if you go back to this philosophy of jurisdiction, of economy, well, you need to have proper governance. You need to have structure, you need proper security, all the things like that. And so Ethereum today has all of these principles better than anybody else. It's not Ripple. It's not Bitcoin. It is Ethereum. And there isn't any other player right now that's innovating something that's unique or different than what's Ethereum. And no developers are really driven on those other platforms. They're all building on Ethereum. So we see Ethereum being right now the leader. Now, the question is, over the next number of years, will there somebody else come with something more innovative? We're still early stage, we don't know. But you need to be willing to be acceptable of that. But the key for investors is, if you want to play this space, you always buy the token that has the greatest amount of utility. That's the one that will accrue the most value. If it doesn't have utility or technology to utility, then it's not going to long-term have a lot of value. It might have a lot of hype, but not a lot of value. And then the differentiation is, you hear about all these ICOs and things like that. The problem is that there are then these ideas, these businesses that are being conceptualized today, and they're trying to then take advantage of, the capital markets of this jurisdiction. And our view is, those likely today are very early stage. The probability of success is very, very small. I'm sure there'll be some really interesting ideas, but the overall general return of that is, in our opinion, going to have a very challenging moment for investors.